Thank you very much for coming out today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for today's podcast. And Matt Ramage, how long have you been doing photography for?
Since 2008.
2008.
So what's that?
Okay.
I gotta use my fingers to count that.
About 6 years?
7
7 years now.
years.
7, yeah. Okay. And how old are you?
29.
29. Okay, so when you were 22,
yeah,
you kind of started up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's kind of like me. I only started doing magic and hypnosis when I was about 19.
Wow.
18, 19, yeah.
And how'd you start?
That's when I really started to do professionally anyways.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool. We both started about the same same stage of our lives.
Yes.
But now you have your own studio. You employ other photographers and videographers.
Yeah.
And your studio's just on 20th there in Saskatoon.
Yes.
And I was in there. We worked together a little bit, and yeah, you do awesome work.
Well, thank you.
Like you do work for the Saskatoon Jazz. What else do you do?
We do work with the city. We've worked with companies like Potash Corp, and
Okay.
we got to do a lot of cool things.
Awesome.
Our most recent project, we were just out with our new drone, working with the Chief Whitecap Waterway, which is brand new, just opened, and this organization, or these guys set up this thing called Keep Calm Paddle On for mental awareness, and they had 22 people start from the Gardner Dam and go to the city in 3 days. So,
Whoa.
like 120-kilometer paddleboard, standing up. So we were
Paddleboard.
Yeah.
I tried that this last summer. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried it?
No. Well, I shouldn't say. I've tried it for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Gave up before I really got anywhere.
It's easy to fall off on that thing. You see people going, and it looks really easy, but there's a lot more balance than you think.
Yeah.
Now, how did you build your business to this stage? Like, obviously, you didn't just in overnight success.
No.
Although some people may think it appears that way.
That's a really good question. I would have to say, like, the biggest thing was getting to know other professionals, making friends with, people who might be able to share something with me, and always trying to give them something back.
Okay.
And, making those connections and ongoing learning, of course, like workshops. We travel around for workshops all the time, across Canada, or online courses, and
Always enhancing your knowledge.
Yeah, trying to be. Yeah, I think
that's very important. I think, yeah.
The world changes so quickly, and a fear actually of mine is to get good enough, and then stop developing, and then getting left in the past. So
yes,
it kind of keeps me motivated.
So that's your motivation, that you're going to get left behind possibly if you don't continue to enhance your knowledge.
Absolutely.
Get smarter and better.
Yeah.
That's a great motivational aspect.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. Is there anything else that motivates you?
It's definitely not money. If it was, I would do something else.
Okay.
Our company does fairly good now, but it was slow going, and it's really hard work. And
right.
The other motivation beyond that would be it's really fun to get to meet people and do be at unique events and things like that paddleboarding event, for example. We get to go see new things all the time, and the adventure. It almost gets me. It almost brings me adventure, or it does bring me adventure. Yeah.
Right.
So,
what were you doing before photography?
Right before, I made kitchen cabinets and installed them. So, worked with a small company, and we, would build, install, and there's 3 of us. So it was a small.
But you were working hard in that, and you just figured maybe it's time to switch. Like, how did you decide?
It's kind of a long story if you want to hear it.
Oh, for sure. Of course, I do want to hear it, man.
So it started out I was always really liked digital media and doing artistic things like in high school I did a lot of painting and drawing.
Right. Okay.
But I really like digital media. So I went to post-secondary for new media, which is graphic design and some basic web stuff.
Right.
And we did some Photoshop work and digital enhancements and editing and to photographs. And it kind of fit in with my other passions, just visual arts. And I really, really had a passion for creating something really cool. And then after researching, I felt like photography would be one of the best ways I could express that creativity, I guess, in a really high-level way. And I bought a camera and started shooting, and then I asked a photographer here in the city if he'd let me work for him for free on the weekends, and he said no.
Oh.
But what happened was he's like, we have a 9-month apprenticeship. It's no pay. It's full-time. And I was like, that's free school, and no one cares where you go to school for photography. Like, or no one asks anyway. It doesn't. Okay. No one cares. It's what you can do. Like, who asked where you went to magic school?
That's true. There hasn't been a single question.
Yeah, like it's irrelevant. It's what you do as your sort of your license to work. And anyway, I did that. I quit my job, and my wife just finished school, so she could start working, and that was the start of it. And I did that for 9 months full time, and then the photographer asked me to stay on he hired me on after that for 2 more years, and then I left after that and started on my own. So yeah.
Wow, that's a crazy journey.
Yeah,
like in a good way, obviously. And so 9-month apprenticeship, that was no pay?
Yes.
The 9-month apprenticeship, there was no pay. You got to be in a certain type of mindset to go for that. Yeah.
I think a lot of people viewed it as very high risk because there was no official accreditation after it, and like the only thing I could keep seeing was like, this is like free school, and people pay tens of thousands for other.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Other schools, and you know what? They're not on the job, and they're not always practical. So, I know there's a lot of great schools, but yeah,
it's easier and faster to learn in person.
Yeah,
and I can attest to that too, because going to a live seminar for magic or hypnosis, I seem to pick up things a lot quicker than if I were to read a book on it or something, right? All right, now, you did cabinets before, then you took a giant leap of faith, essentially, from the sounds of it.
Yes.
And did you have any failures along the way?
There was definitely struggles. It'd be hard to say. Failures, I don't know how I'd classify.
Fair enough.
I was...
something where maybe you felt like quitting or, ending the journey and going to a regular job. Something that maybe that you had to battle through that made you stronger.
Yeah, I think there were some events that made it, there's some things in the back of my mind the whole time in the first few years that I didn't have a formal education for, I didn't have a backup plan. Okay. I didn't have an engineering degree in my back pocket or, a trade. And for me, it was this pressure to just, I had to make it work. And so when things got me down, I would just work harder, or I would stay up late at night on my iPhone or something, watching YouTube tutorials or getting inspiration. And I think, failures, I don't feel like there was any massive failures, but
but just speed bumps along the way.
Yeah, I got discouraged often. I still do.
How do you deal with that?
Oh man, taking a break, going on holidays maybe. Even right now, I always have the struggle of the busier I get, I always look at myself in the harshest light. And, just last week I was like, I need to do something for me. So I booked a plane ticket for the end of September, so a month from now.
Okay.
Or 3 weeks to go to Toronto for a week and go photograph out there. No money's on the table. I got to do what I want.
Okay.
And
just a personal project.
yeah, and I don't even know what it's going to be. It's just myself going, and I booked the time off, and I'm excited. I have no idea what will come of it, but
excellent. Well, I can't wait to see what you're going to make of that.
Yeah, me too.
Sounds interesting. I've always thought about Toronto as a hub for my business.
Yeah?
Yeah, kind of between there and Vancouver. But then I'm thinking back, and I could just travel wherever to do anything. So I don't even know if I want to move, if there's an even benefit to it. Have you always lived in Saskatoon?
Born and raised, yeah.
Born and raised, yeah, me too.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go any further, I just want to acknowledge you as an amazing entrepreneur who has been able to, step away from the norm and really push through to entrepreneurship, where you open your own studio. But before that, there was this huge leap that you did. And I know, just speaking with you right now, you may not think it's very much, but it is. Like, for you to be able to quit your job, go to something that's not paying right now, and just knowing that if you put the work in, it's going to pay you back tenfold. That's a huge leap, and not many people have the guts, have the courage to be able to do that. So I acknowledge you for that.
Well,
that's
thanks,
huge.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people can learn, at least if they can learn one thing, to just have faith in yourself like you do, and know that you don't need a plan B. And in fact, when you have a plan B, I forget who said it, but if there's a plan B, it just distracts from plan A.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, and you're living proof of that. I like that a lot. So, what's next? Like, your current level of success, but what do you have in your future goals? Like, what's the next big thing for you?
That's a really tough question, and it's a question I ask all the time. Part of my love for photography actually is the entrepreneurship of it. Making business decisions and, making those ideas come to life. It was this year, we launched Studio D. Mm-hmm. So we changed our name from Matt Ramage Photography to Studio D.
Right. And
the idea was to build a team where we have multiple photographers so we can service people easier. Evenings, weekends, we can be 2 places, 3 places at once.
Right.
And I think that'll be the biggest leap, is getting that team built. And it won't be easy because, there's only one me.
Right.
But my hope is that, if, there's one Kenton, let's say I got a guy named Kenton. Okay. He can be himself, and that would be me helping him develop himself as a photographer and making him or that person fit into the business. And I think that's the next step, is me to myself to learn how to build those types of team members.
Right.
So we have 3 other photographers right now, and one of them is pretty much full time, and that relationship has been really good. Her name's Julie. She makes things run pretty smooth. So that's kind of given me confidence to say, this can work, but it just takes time.
Right.
So yeah.
Time and working hard, grinding.
Yeah, and the right people. I mean, people power is, good people are worth more than I could have ever imagined. If you work at a place, like retail or something, your coworkers may not love the job, and management's there to make them feel valued and work hard. But if they don't feel the passion there, it's not going to work. Exactly. And I think any job, no matter how cool it is,
you have to find the passion.
Yeah. So finding those people that want to be part of a team, and also stay with me as long as is mutually beneficial, which I hope is like a long time. I'd hate for someone to join and then a year later they leave or, do something else. So, but
what do you look for?
That's a really good question. I think the biggest, the most important thing to me in a person that would be part of a team I'm with is a loyalty and commitment to the end goal, and that is, showing up. Like we don't ever miss jobs. Like we make them work every time.
Okay.
Unless there's some unforeseen thing like we have no control over.
Right.
So, people who don't just phone up the day before saying I can't make it, that's not acceptable, especially in such a tight team. And the other thing would be just like people who can have fun and be friendly with people, because they're a representative of our company. And, it's really important that people feel taken care of when they work with our company. And
where did you learn to look for these values?
I feel kind of like I've stumbled upon them, because the people that make my life, or like my work life, a little easier, or show initiative, like it's easy to undervalue them in the moment, but when you take a step back of a company and you look at the people who make things happen, you start to see why they do that. And I think even just trying other teammates, we've had a few people intern, which are great people, and just connecting with new people, you start to see, what kind of things what things do you require and what things can you kind of bend on?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah. All right. I want to try something with you now.
Sure.
It's called a speech jammer.
Okay.
And it's hilarious when it works. However, I don't know if it'll work with you exactly. We'll see.
It's working.
All right, so we have the Fast Track Photographer, a book that you recommended.
Yeah.
And using the speech jammer, which kind of messes with your mind a little bit. It makes it hard to speak, but we'll see if it works on you. You're going to try to just read about the author here.
Okay.
Just nice and smooth. This is if you were reading out loud.
Sounds good. All right, I'll get nice and close here. In 2010, Photo District News named Dane Sanders one of the 30 most influential living photographers of the last decade. He has been featured in numerous publications, including Rangefinder and Professional Photographer magazines, and has also produced hundreds of videos, podcasts, including his free weekly Fast Track coaching broadcast to help photographers get the essential insights and tools they need to flourish as professional creatives.
All right, well, let's stop it there for a moment. You did really well, actually. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what that feels like when you have those headphones on, you can't hear yourself speak. It's hard to tell if you're actually just flowing with it, but you did. There's maybe one word that you said a different word, and I don't know if you caught that on yourself.
Freakly or something?
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
But you did well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm sure when I do this with some musicians, I'm going to get them, because they're a lot more focused on their ears and to take that sense away. Whereas I feel like you're more of a visual person. So you're able to disassociate your senses a little bit to be able to do that. But good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you survived.
Pressure's off.
All right, well, when you are out in the field and you have a really interesting project to do, and maybe you don't have the creative or the ideas just yet, is there something you do to get into a creative zone if you're not already in one?
Like when the pressure's on and I have to perform.
Right.
Yeah, I've developed a lot of techniques for myself to be able to just perform when I'm not creative. And
Interesting.
those tricks came from when I feel like I have been creative. So I'm trying to just kickstart my brain into that, telling that story with those photographs. So usually, if I'm jammed up, I just switch to something different. Like I'll switch a piece of equipment, like a lens, and then it'll force me to see things a different way. And the way I photograph, every lens I have, I photograph a certain way with that lens. So that's why I think when I'm working and something's not working for me, I'll switch my lens, do something I know will look good, even if it's not what the customer wanted. I'll do something that makes me feel good about myself, and then I can switch back to shooting for them, I guess, you know. And I mean, oftentimes I love the shots that I take when I'm shooting for me. If that's even a way to put it, shooting for me. I mean, the whole project's shooting for the customer, but doing things that make me reset my brain.
Are there any other ones like that, like other than switching the lens? Because what I'm getting from that, you know, is you switch the lens because maybe. And you're not being creative at that point, right? You're under pressure.
Yeah.
So you switch the lens to something you know is going to work. I feel like that is putting into your brain a positive way of thinking. Because before that, maybe you were starting to get a little bit negative and down on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then by doing that, you completely reverse everything.
Yes.
Do you have anything else like that just gives you a full 180? Maybe if you were just like doing your office work, you know, and just anything that you feel like unmotivated to work, but then all of a sudden you're able to just flip a switch.
I mean, it's kind of basic for me, but like a small win always can change my mood.
Oh, small win.
So a small win could be like going through all my emails.
Okay.
I mean, I get overwhelmed all the time with the pressures of, you know, like if, you know, you take a day off, or if I take a day off, you know, I have brand new voicemails that I haven't listened to, another 25 emails in my inbox, and then questions from, you know, customers who have something like a project coming up, and now I've got to use my brain to think of that project to answer that question.
Right.
So when I look at that as a whole picture, I mean, it's overwhelming, and I honestly will procrastinate all the time, but when I have to get things done, I just do something small to get me going. So that could be something as simple as sweeping my office or checking all my emails, or like going through them, or just one thing. You know, maybe it's even just charging my camera batteries and getting my bag ready for the next shoot.
Right.
So that at least one thing's in place.
Okay. Yeah.
Once one thing's in place, then it's like, okay, we can keep going.
And get your momentum back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you think you learned that from? Is that from growing up? Your parents? Is that something from school, or is it just, I don't know?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm a chronic procrastinator,
Okay.
and that's where, you know, I thrive in a team setting, and my procrastination is probably the worst. I don't know what you call it. Worst feature about myself, or the worst trait or habit I have.
That's not a bad trait to have. Is your worst one, because you have a way of getting around it. So really, it's not affecting you anymore.
Yeah. So I set up things to make myself have to, you know, deliver. So, you know, we put tight deadlines on things, and you know, we used to say 2 to 3 weeks, and it always would be 3 weeks. So now it's just 2 weeks or 1 week, or there's certain days we set, and other little things that help us keep going and not procrastinate. We keep our appointments. We try not to reschedule unless it's like it would hurt the shoot or something like that.
Right.
Like bad weather. Yeah, of course I'll reschedule if I can, because, you know, I want to get a good piece of work in the end.
Understandable.
But those little things have helped me stop procrastinating. It's just deadlines, and you know, I'm late every once in a while still. I hate it. I hate to admit that, but
It happens to everybody, though.
Yeah, but like the quicker I get that workout, then I can do my new work, keep my mind clear for that, and then, ideally I'd love to photograph a job and then deliver it the next day and never overlap one project. That would be amazing.
You probably have a way to figure it out to do that, don't you?
No.
like a concept, maybe. No?
I've been thinking, like, if I book a shoot, then I block off the work time afterwards.
Right.
But, I mean...
But you gotta be available for something else. And...
Yeah, that could be impractical. Because it would be... I mean, every time I get hired for a job, I'm always like... I'm still to this day, I'm like, wow, someone wants me to take their picture or take a picture for them. So, I mean, we try to bend over backwards in terms of that. But, yeah, where I learned how to not procrastinate, well, I guess I do procrastinate, but to deal with that, I think my key point on dealing with that is a team as well. So I have a studio manager. Her job is to keep me on task, and she, okay. I mean, it's kind of a burden for her. I'm doing the work, but it's a burden for her to make sure I do it.
So you hired a manager for yourself, essentially.
I mean, it's one of her roles. She's a photographer too, and does her own.
She's full time.
She's pretty. Yeah, I mean, may as well call her full time, but it's kind of a unique situation. But yeah,
interesting. Now, your family, do they have any role in your business?
No, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, you'd like to keep it separate.
Yeah, I got to go home and not have to... Any stress I have at work doesn't transfer home beyond myself. Like, it's not like my spouse, is having pressure from not doing bookkeeping or something like that. Or she doesn't have a shoot that she didn't finish, There's no compounded stress at home, which I like.
Excellent.
So...
And you'd probably recommend that for most people?
I think it would depend. I know a lot of photographers who work with their spouse. And usually one takes like a primary role and one takes like more of a supportive role in that kind of relationship. But I don't know, for our family, like my wife is a nurse and there's a few things that are great. Our income's not tied up into one industry. And I think financial stress can like really kill an entrepreneur. Right. So my wife being able to work, doing her own thing is awesome. And she does shift work, which for a photographer is actually great because she's not working Monday to Friday. She works Monday to Friday sometimes, but weird shifts. And we can always schedule my stuff around her. So I have free evenings, free days, free weekends. Perfect. And then I can take time off too. And, yeah.
What really interests me is if you could remember the furthest, or not the furthest, if you remember the first photograph you ever took.
Oh man, the first photograph I remember taking would have been in high school.
Okay.
The actual.
Do you remember what it was?
That's a really good question. I know one of them was like we shot only 3 rolls of film the whole semester, which isn't many. So it's like 24 pictures times, what is that, 90? My math's terrible. 72 pictures or something like that. Yeah. I mean, one of them I remember taking was just a long exposure off the train bridge in Saskatoon here.
Okay.
And I think it wasn't my first, but it was like one of the first pictures.
Nice. And
my mom has a print of it somewhere. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should get a copy of that and see the contrast of...
Actually, you know what? I should go back a little further. My first camera was a Game Boy camera in 1997 or 6 or something like that. And the resolution was like 100 and... It was like 0.03 megapixels. Like, it was pathetic. So it was the resolution of a Game Boy screen.
Yeah.
And the things I would do with this thing... Yeah, I think if it was 96, I would have been like 10 years old. I would set it up, and you could do time lapses with it. And it could only hold about 30 pictures, and they were really lame. But I would do stop motion with my Lego characters.
Yeah.
So I would take a picture. I'd have it set up like, I didn't have a tripod, so I just had it taped to something.
Right.
Move it a little bit. I remember showing my dad that. He was like, he couldn't believe it. Like that I could animate a little character. And we didn't have a computer even at the time. And
Right.
you know,
That's really cool.
that to me is like playing around. Like that would be more than the film. I actually don't really like film.
Right.
I like the digital media and, the Game Boy camera, which I still have.
Good.
It's a keepsake because it is my first camera. It's the first, digital camera I ever owned, which was, that's 20, I don't know, almost 20 years ago. So
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost. You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, and if you count that, I mean, that to me was like one of the things a memory I'll never forget is doing those kind of things and seeing people's reactions. Because it wasn't really designed for that, but it's just a tool that you could do whatever you want. We'd plant a piece of grain and do a time lapse, and this is before GoPros. Everyone has a GoPro now, but that thing you could set to take a picture every hour. You'd have this like little, 2-second clip after you're done. But I was doing those things back when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I know.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
and creativity at a young age.
Yeah,
and just almost like the seed that you planted. It's grown into a lucrative business for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there any life lesson that you have learned from photography that applies to life in general?
Just photography or like being an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Okay.
Either or.
Definitely like make great relationships with people, and be real. Like it's not about tricks or, manipulation. Caring about people, and showing, you're there for them in a pinch, I guess. And, just supporting others. You'll be surprised how much comes back. Like referring work to other people, making friends, buying people lunch. I can't give enough credit to just connecting with people.
Okay.
Like if you had an ad budget for billboards, you got, let's say $4,000 for a billboard.
Right.
You could buy 400 lunches. Is that right? 10 lunches?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Depends how much the lunch is.
Let's say $100 a lunch.
Okay.
You take a couple people out and it's like a nice lunch or something.
Right.
Get some drinks or whatever. Let's say it's $100. That's 40 lunches. I mean, that's 40 connections you could make. And usually like one interaction with people like that connects you, like no Facebook or retweet or it's not like it's real life, it's real people, and it goes beyond just a job or things like that. And when you make those kind of when I've made those connections with people, I never know how it can reciprocate back, and I think expecting it to may be foolish, but it always does.
Interesting.
And I think it's just like caring for others, like people don't forget that kind of thing. So
right,
yeah.
Building real relationships,
yeah.
Not fake online ones.
Yeah, I mean, online can supplement your real stuff, but I mean, online's great to connect with people and get you to ask them, can I take you for lunch? But
nothing replaces the face-to-face.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, that is good. I like that. And
then once you have a real relationship, if they ever hire you, you care about them, you're going to work your ass off. And sorry, I shouldn't say that, but
yeah, well, you can say whatever you want.
Sure, you're going to work your ass off to make sure they're satisfied, because when people work with you or hire you for their company, you're also their ambassador. They made a choice the first time a company hires you. You're sort of on probation, and if you pull through and work your hardest, I mean, it just makes those connections stronger, and people just want people they can count on. So
right,
yeah,
make them look good because they chose you.
Yeah, that's my hope.
Awesome. All right, I'd like to find out if you have any sort of morning routine or ritual to get you into a high performance zone.
Yeah, working at home. I used to work at home, and it was really hard to really get into that high performance zone. And then I started, when I worked at home, I would still get up, I would shower, get dressed. I wouldn't just work in my, pajamas or whatever.
Right.
And that was like, that's where I learned how to do, like get myself into that mode. Because when you're ready to work, then you can go out and do errands if you need, because you're ready to go. You can go meet with someone on a whim because you're ready to go.
Okay.
And I think that's translated to working at my studio now. I work every day. It's not just because I could stay home doesn't mean I do. I default. Right. That's what I do. I go to work in the morning and shower, shave,
Yeah.
get dressed and
just get ready and
be ready to meet people and just
dress for success. And
I mean,
there you go.
Yeah.
No, I know. I get that exactly, because I work from home. A lot of the work, aside from going and performing, it's a different story. But working from home, sometimes I'll just stay in my pajamas, and it's interesting you say that, because those are my least productive days.
Really? Yeah.
So just put on a nice shirt. Get into a visual zone, which in turn gets your mind going into it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to start doing that a lot more. I like that. Yeah.
And one other thing is I have a laptop, but I pretty rarely bring it home. Okay. So I can only work at work. And
keep it separate.
Yeah. I mean, I get my emails on my phone, but even then I don't even like to read them half the time, because then my mind starts going to it. So okay. I go to work and I have this little thing, dump memory cards from the day before, prep camera bag for the next shoot, and then it sits under my monitor. And after that, then go through emails. And so I go through the emails, try to make all the tasks that are required by them, whether it's a response, checking on something, delivering a file, sending a new link to a Dropbox account or a Dropbox folder.
Okay.
And then start working on my tasks.
Right on.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty busy too.
Yeah. I mean, that takes a lot of time in itself.
Exactly. If you could leave behind one piece of advice that your children have to learn 100%, and that everybody in the world should learn, and this is something that your business has taught you, and you can leave behind nothing else, what would it be?
I think I know what it is. Let me just make sure.
Okay, fair enough.
I guess be generous, with people.
Okay.
And if I could tag something on, it would be this guy. I went to Africa one time with this NGO, and we were in a traffic jam or something. And I was like, "Can you just tell him to move?" I was getting really antsy. And the local guy who was driving for us, his name was Martin, and he said, I was asking him to basically just be rude and demand our way. And I don't, the people we were waiting on could have moved, but he said, no, it's nice to be nice. And I was like, you're right. And that kind of stuck with me. So being generous to people and be kind.
Be kind, be generous.
Yeah. If my kids did that, I'd be pretty happy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, what trip was this?
In 2008, so I just started. I was asked to photograph and document a trip. I mean, I'd hate to show the photographs; they're terrible. I just started. I had no idea what I was doing, and I went with a Christian organization who kind of partners with the government in a place called Gambia, or the Gambia, if you've heard of it. It's surrounded by Senegal. The country is the smallest thing you've ever seen.
Okay. I'll find it.
Yeah, like, I think it might be 40 miles across vertically.
Oh, well.
And maybe 400 miles wide. But, yeah, we were there, and the organization was helping with their teaching hospital, which was the equivalent to RUH here. So a university-style hospital. And they're helping them implement new techniques and stuff. And
Okay.
lots of practical help.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was really neat to see. And I mean, the photographs, they're okay. And we took some video, and it was neat to see. But
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Your photography was able to take you on a trip, an unforgettable trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
That taught you a life lesson. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, how can people find you?
You could Google my name.
Okay.
It might be some chaos, but
well, also I'll put all the information in the transcript. They'll be able to find the show notes.
Perfect.
But your website's
Studio D.
Studio D.
YXE. For Saskatoon.
Okay.
.com.
So does that mean you plan to maybe branch off YQR?
You never know.
Yeah. Awesome.
You never know.
I'd like to thank you very much, Matt, for coming on to this podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. I love learning from you so far, and I hope to learn a lot more from you in the future. And I know everyone else that listened and watched, they learned something too.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks for having me.